As another year draws to a close, we find ourselves on the cusp of a new beginning, a fresh chapter, blank and unblemished, waiting for us to inscribe it with our choices, actions, and intentions. The transition into a new year always carries a unique energy, a sense of possibility, as though life is handing us a reset button. It's easy to feel that this is the time to set ambitious goals and list the resolutions we swear will transform our lives. But I want to propose something deeper, something far more transformative than the traditional checklist of aspirations. It's not about resolutions at all. It's about a way of being, a spiritual practice that can not only shape your year, but also transform the way you approach life itself. Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, these words hold a truth that is both empowering and humbling. Our greatest strength lies not in trying to control the uncontrollable, but in mastering ourselves. It's this mastery of the mind and spirit that can guide us through any challenge, any uncertainty, with grace and resilience. This year, instead of resolutions focused solely on external achievements, consider a practice rooted in inner strength and quiet impact. This isn't about grand gestures or public accolades. It's about adopting a philosophy of silent guardianship, a way of living that embodies compassion, self-restraint, and an unwavering commitment to doing good without seeking recognition. It's a practice inspired by the Stoic principles of self-mastery and the spiritual discipline of silent service. Silent service is the act of helping others without expecting acknowledgement or praise. It's the kind word spoken when no one else is listening, the small action that eases someone else's burden, the presence you offer simply by being there when someone needs it most. It thrives in humility, urging us to place the needs of others above our own ego, aligning our actions with higher principles of compassion and kindness. It's in these small, uncelebrated acts that the true power of humanity shines. Consider the story of Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher who was born into slavery and endured profound suffering. He could have allowed his circumstances to embitter him, but instead, he transformed his pain into wisdom. One story tells of how he noticed a fellow slave struggling under the weight of a heavy load. Without waiting to be asked, Epictetus stepped in to help. It wasn't obligation that drove him, it was a deep sense of shared humanity. He lightened the physical burden, but more importantly, reminded his companion of their inherent dignity. When asked why he chose to help, he simply said, "We are but fellow travelers. How can I not ease the road for another?" This small yet profound act encapsulates the essence of silent service. It teaches us that even the simplest gestures can create ripples of kindness that extend far beyond the moment. As we step into a new year, we have the opportunity to adopt this practice in our own lives, to make silent helping a part of our daily spiritual journey. Start by observing the world around you. Look for the subtle struggles people may not voice, a colleague overwhelmed by deadlines, a friend masking their worries with a forced smile, a stranger whose day could be brightened by the smallest act of kindness. Pay attention, then act without hesitation and without seeking acknowledgement. Whether it's a word of encouragement, a practical gesture, or simply listening, let your actions be their own reward. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect. How did your actions impact those around you? How did they shape your own sense of purpose and fulfillment? This practice is not just about helping others, it's about fortifying your own spirit. Silent service lays the groundwork for an even greater practice, silent protection. This takes the philosophy of silent helping one step further, applying it not only to how we treat others, but also to how we safeguard our own peace. Imagine the power of choosing calm in the face of provocation, understanding in the face of impatience, and silence in the face of negativity. Silent protection is about becoming a fortress of tranquility in a world often driven by chaos. It's about refusing to react to the noise around us, cultivating an unshakable inner peace that radiates outward. Think about the last time you were faced with aggression or negativity. What if, instead of reacting, you chose silence? Not the silence of avoidance or passivity, but the deliberate, composed silence of someone who values their peace above all else. This kind of silence doesn't just protect your mental and emotional balance, it inspires those around you to find their own calm. It creates a ripple effect of serenity in a world that desperately needs it. Practicing silent protection daily transforms not only how you experience the world, but also how the world experiences you. It's not about suppressing your emotions or pretending problems don't exist. It's about acknowledging your feelings, observing them, and choosing your response with intention. It's about mastering the art of restraint and finding strength in stillness. Silent protection also extends beyond ourselves. It's about safeguarding the peace of those around us through our actions, our presence, and our example. By embodying calmness and self-control, we create a space where others feel safe, supported, and inspired. It's a way of being that transcends words, influencing others not through commands or persuasion, but through the quiet power of our actions. As we prepare to step into this new chapter, think about what it would mean to integrate these practices into your life. What would it look like to become a silent guardian for yourself and others? To approach each day with the intention of helping, protecting, and uplifting in ways that may never be acknowledged, but will always be felt. The impact of such a practice is immeasurable, not just for those you touch, but for the person you become in the process. The new year offers us the perfect opportunity to embrace these principles. It's a time to reflect on the kind of person we want to be, not just in the grand moments, but in the small, everyday interactions that define our character. Let's commit to a year not just of resolutions, but of quiet revolutions, within ourselves and in the lives of those around us. Let's make 2025 a year where our actions, no matter how small or unseen, leave a lasting legacy of kindness, strength, and peace. As we step into a new year, there's a quiet power waiting for us to embrace, a way of living that transcends resolutions and goals. It's not about achieving external milestones or ticking boxes on a list. It's about stepping into the fullness of who we are and choosing to live with intentionality, compassion, and unwavering inner strength. This way of living is captured in the practice of silent protection, a philosophy that invites us to not only safeguard our own peace, but also extend that peace to others in ways that ripple through the world. Silent protection is a practice that grows out of the foundational principle of silent service, helping others without the need for recognition. But it goes deeper. Silent protection is about cultivating an inner calm that shields us from the chaos and negativity of the world, while empowering us to radiate strength and stability to those around us. It's a practice rooted in humility and self-control, teaching us that true power lies not in dominating others or winning battles, but in mastering ourselves. Imagine a moment of provocation. Perhaps someone says something unkind, or a situation spirals into conflict. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself, lash out, or react emotionally. It's human nature. But now imagine choosing instead to pause, to breathe, to remain silent. In that silence, there is immense strength. It's not the silence of suppression or weakness, but the silence of mastery, a choice to prioritize your peace over the noise. By choosing not to engage with negativity, you disarm it. You protect your emotional well-being and model a powerful way of being for those around you. The beauty of silent protection is its dual impact. It shields you from unnecessary stress and conflict while inspiring others to find their own sense of calm. When you respond to aggression with calmness or meet impatience with understanding, you create a ripple effect of stability. The world around you begins to shift, not because you've controlled it, but because you've chosen not to be controlled by it. Consider the story of a manager named Sophie. Sophie led a team in a high-pressure work environment where tempers often flared and tensions ran high. During a particularly intense meeting, one of her colleagues lost their temper, directing sharp words at Sophie in front of the entire team. The room fell silent, all eyes on her, expecting a fiery response. Instead, Sophie took a deep breath and calmly said, "I hear your concerns, and I appreciate your passion. Let's take a moment to regroup and discuss this constructively." Her composed response not only diffused the situation, but also set a tone of respect and professionalism for the entire team. What Sophie demonstrated in that moment was the essence of silent protection. She protected her peace by not reacting emotionally, and protected the team's dynamic by steering the conversation back to a place of collaboration. Her calmness became a source of strength for everyone in the room, proving that leadership is not about overpowering others, but about guiding them with clarity and grace. Silent protection doesn't require dramatic moments to be effective. It can be practiced in the smallest, most everyday interactions. Think of the times when someone cuts you off in traffic, or when a friend is short with you because they're having a bad day. Instead of reacting in frustration or defensiveness, you can choose to let it go, to remain calm, and to offer understanding. In doing so, you protect your own peace and potentially transform the interaction into something more positive. But why should we practice silent protection? What makes it so essential, not just for our personal well-being, but for our collective humanity? The answer lies in its profound ripple effect. When we choose calm over chaos, kindness over conflict, we become beacons of stability in a world that often feels unstable. We create environments where people feel safe, supported, and inspired to show up as their best selves. There's also a deep personal benefit to silent protection. It builds inner strength and resilience. Every time you choose not to react to negativity, you reinforce your ability to stay centered and composed in the face of challenges. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or avoiding conflict entirely. It means responding from a place of intention rather than impulse. It's about knowing that your peace is too valuable to be shaken by temporary storms. Practicing silent protection daily also fosters a sense of connection and empathy. When we approach situations with calmness and understanding, we create space to see others more clearly. We recognize that behind someone's harsh words or impatient actions might be a struggle we can't see. By choosing not to react defensively, we open the door to compassion and potentially turn moments of conflict into opportunities for connection. Take, for example, a story from my own life. I once found myself in a heated disagreement with a close friend. Voices were raised and emotions were running high. In the middle of it, I realized that my instinct to defend myself was only escalating the situation. So I paused, took a breath, and said, "I want to understand where you're coming from. Can we talk about this calmly?" That simple shift changed everything. The tension eased, and we were able to have an honest conversation that deepened our friendship rather than damaging it. Silent protection is not about avoiding tough conversations or pretending everything is fine. It's about choosing to engage in those conversations with respect, clarity, and the intention to build rather than break. It's about protecting not just your own peace, but the peace of your relationships and the environments you're part of. As we step into this new year, let's make a commitment to integrate silent protection into our daily lives. Start small. When faced with negativity, pause and ask yourself, what's the most peaceful response I can offer in this moment? When provoked, choose silence or calm words instead of reaction. When you see someone else struggling, offer support without judgment or expectation. These small choices, practiced consistently, have the power to transform not only your own life, but also the lives of those around you. Silent protection is not a skill we perfect overnight. It's a practice, one that requires patience and persistence. There will be moments when you falter, when your emotions get the best of you, and that's okay. What matters is that you return to the practice again and again, choosing peace over conflict and compassion over judgment. This year, let's redefine what it means to be strong. Let's move away from the idea that strength is about power or control and embrace the truth that strength lies in calmness, restraint, and the quiet influence we have on those around us. Let's become protectors, not through force or dominance, but through the silent, steadfast strength of our presence. Imagine what the world could look like if we all committed to this practice. A world where conversations are guided by understanding rather than ego, where disagreements are resolved with respect rather than aggression, and where the simple act of staying calm in the face of chaos becomes a revolutionary act. It starts with each of us in the smallest, most everyday moments. As you embrace the practice of silent protection, you'll find that it doesn't just change how you respond to the world, it changes how the world responds to you. You become a source of stability, a beacon of calm in turbulent times, and an inspiration for others to find their own strength. This is the quiet power of silent protection, and it's waiting for you to claim it. Let this be the year you step into that power and make it a cornerstone of your life. The essence of silent service and silent protection is a deeply spiritual practice, but it also opens the door to an equally transformative experience, finding joy in the acts of kindness we perform. This isn't about pride or recognition. It's about intentionally pausing to feel the quiet fulfillment that comes from aligning our actions with our values. As we step into a new year, let's reflect on the profound significance of savoring joy after doing good, not as an afterthought, but as a deliberate act of mindfulness and gratitude. In our fast-paced lives, it's easy to rush from one task to another, even when those tasks include acts of kindness. We hold the door open for someone, lend a helping hand, or say an encouraging word. But how often do we pause to acknowledge the goodness of those moments? How often do we let ourselves feel the quiet, grounding joy that comes from knowing we've made someone's day just a little bit better? Far too often, we overlook these moments, moving past them without reflection. Yet, it's in these moments that we find the true essence of spiritual growth. The joy we feel after performing a good deed is not just a fleeting emotion. It's a reflection of our alignment with the virtues of compassion, generosity, and kindness. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple yet profound reminder is not only about gratitude, but also about recognizing the beauty of living in accordance with our values. When we act with kindness and take the time to savor the joy that follows, we reinforce the connection between our actions and the deeper purpose they serve. Take, for instance, the story of Abdul Sattar Edhi, a man often referred to as the richest poor man in the world. Edhi dedicated his entire life to serving others, founding one of the largest social welfare organizations in the world. His acts of kindness were monumental, rescuing abandoned children, burying the unclaimed dead, and providing medical care to the marginalized. But what sustained him through decades of tireless work wasn't wealth or recognition. It was the quiet joy he found in service, the fulfillment of knowing he was making a difference. He reflected on his actions not with pride, but with gratitude for the opportunity to serve. This joy, found in selfless acts, is deeply nourishing. It strengthens our commitment to living a life of virtue and inspires us to continue contributing to the world in meaningful ways. But how do we cultivate this habit of savoring joy after a good deed? It begins with mindfulness, being fully present in the moment when we extend kindness and taking the time to reflect on it afterward. By doing so, we transform even the smallest gestures into profound spiritual practices. Consider this. After helping someone, pause for a moment and ask yourself, how did my actions make the other person feel? What qualities did I demonstrate in carrying out this act? How did this action align with my values? These reflections don't just deepen our understanding of the impact we've made, they also help us internalize the joy and gratitude that come from living a life of service. For example, imagine you're at work and you notice a colleague struggling to meet a deadline. Without waiting to be asked, you offer to help, perhaps by proofreading a report or brainstorming ideas. Later, as you reflect on the moment, you realize how your small gesture not only eased their burden, but also strengthened your relationship. You feel a sense of quiet satisfaction, not because you expect praise, but because you acted in alignment with your principles of kindness and teamwork. That feeling of joy becomes a motivator, encouraging you to seek out more opportunities to help. Incorporating this habit into daily life doesn't require grand gestures. It can be as simple as holding a door open, sharing a smile, or offering a kind word to someone who seems down. The key is to approach these actions with intention and to take a moment afterward to savor their significance. Over time, this practice nurtures a deeper sense of connection to your values and to the world around you. This intentional reflection also has a ripple effect. When we find joy in our acts of kindness, we inspire others to do the same. Joy is contagious, and when people see you living with compassion and fulfillment, they're more likely to adopt similar practices in their own lives. This creates a cycle of positivity, where each act of kindness fuels another, spreading light in ways we may never fully see. There's also a psychological dimension to this practice. Research in positive psychology has shown that acts of kindness trigger the release of dopamine and oxytocin, often referred to as the happiness chemicals. These neurochemical responses not only enhance our mood, but also create a feedback loop, encouraging us to continue practicing kindness. By taking the time to savor the joy that comes from these acts, we reinforce this positive cycle, making kindness an integral part of our daily lives. The story of Adi is a powerful reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a profound impact. Imagine the joy he must have felt, knowing that his work provided scholarships for students, saved lives through healthcare, and offered dignity to the forgotten. That joy wasn't fleeting. It was a deep, abiding sense of purpose that sustained him through decades of service. It's a reminder that when we give, we receive far more in return, an enriched sense of meaning and a heart full of gratitude. To bring this practice into your own life, start with small steps. Each day, commit to helping one person in a quiet, selfless way. It could be as simple as helping a neighbor carry groceries, offering a compliment, or lending a listening ear to a friend. Afterward, take a moment to reflect on the impact of your actions. How did they make you feel? What did they teach you about yourself and your values? As you integrate this habit into your routine, you'll begin to notice a shift. Your perspective will change. You'll find that the pursuit of external rewards pales in comparison to the fulfillment of living in alignment with your principles. You'll start to see each day as an opportunity to contribute to the world in ways that matter, not because they're grand or noticeable, but because they're true. This new year, let's make a commitment to embrace the joy of doing good, not as a fleeting moment, but as a daily practice that nourishes our spirit. Let's savor the satisfaction that comes from knowing we've made a difference, however small, in the lives of others. And let's allow that joy to inspire us to keep going, to keep giving, and to keep growing. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, what we do now echoes in eternity. Let our actions this year be echoes of kindness, compassion, and quiet strength. Let our joy in doing good ripple outward, touching lives in ways we may never know. And let us carry this joy into every corner of our lives, transforming not only our own hearts, but also the world around us. Spirituality is often portrayed as something quiet and internal, a personal retreat into meditation, reflection, and mindfulness. While these practices are undoubtedly vital, there's another, equally profound dimension of spirituality that often goes unspoken. True spirituality is not confined to the silent spaces of introspection. It flourishes in our interactions with others, in the ways we give, support, and uplift those around us. As we step into a new year, it's time to redefine spirituality as something expansive, a bridge between our inner peace and the collective well-being of the world. Imagine a world where every small act of giving, every gesture of kindness, became a thread weaving together a fabric of shared humanity. It could be something as simple as holding the door open for a stranger, offering your seat on a crowded bus, or helping someone carry a heavy load. These acts might seem insignificant, but they are powerful in their ability to connect us to something larger than ourselves. They remind us that we are not solitary beings, but part of a vast interconnected web of lives. And in that interconnectedness lies the essence of spirituality. Consider the story of Charles Feeney, the billionaire who chose to give away nearly all his fortune during his lifetime. Known as the James Bond of philanthropy for his secretive acts of generosity, Feeney donated over $8 billion to causes ranging from education to healthcare, always quietly, without seeking recognition. His philosophy of giving while living is a profound reminder that the greatest spiritual acts are often the quietest. Feeney didn't wait for accolades or public praise. His joy came from knowing that his actions had a ripple effect, transforming lives and creating opportunities for others. This quiet form of giving is a deeply spiritual act. It's not about how much we give or how visible our actions are. It's about the intention behind them. True spirituality is rooted in humility, the recognition that we are stewards of the gifts we've been given, whether they are material resources, time, or talents. When we give with an open heart and no expectation of reward, we align ourselves with the higher principles of compassion and altruism. We contribute to a collective good that transcends our individual selves. As we step into the new year, we can bring this philosophy into our daily lives in simple, meaningful ways. Acts of giving don't need to be grand to be impactful. Volunteering at a local shelter, mentoring a young person, or simply listening to someone who needs to be heard are all ways to practice spiritual generosity. The key is to approach these actions with mindfulness and intention, recognizing that even the smallest gestures can create ripples of kindness and connection. One of the most beautiful aspects of giving is the way it transforms not only the recipient, but also the giver. Research in positive psychology has shown that acts of generosity activate the brain's reward centers, releasing feel-good chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin. These biochemical responses create what's known as the helper's high, a natural boost in happiness and well-being. But this joy isn't just a fleeting moment of pleasure. It's a deep, enduring sense of fulfillment that comes from knowing we've made a difference. This cycle of giving and joy is self-reinforcing. The more we give, the more we feel connected to our values and purpose. And the more we feel this connection, the more we are inspired to continue giving. It's a positive feedback loop that nourishes both our spiritual and emotional health, creating a life that feels rich with meaning. But the practice of spiritual giving isn't always easy. It requires us to look beyond ourselves, to step out of our comfort zones, and to sometimes make sacrifices. It might mean giving our time when we feel busy, sharing our resources when we feel stretched, or offering kindness when we feel hurt. These moments of challenge are where true spiritual growth happens. They teach us to prioritize love over fear, connection over separation, and selflessness over ego. Take, for example, the story of a small-town teacher named Maria. Maria worked in an underfunded school where many of her students struggled with basic needs. Instead of focusing on the limitations of her resources, she chose to quietly step in where she could. She bought school supplies for children who couldn't afford them, organized food drives for families in need, and stayed after hours to tutor students who needed extra help. Maria's acts of giving weren't grand or publicized, but they changed lives. Her students didn't just see her as a teacher, they saw her as someone who believed in them and cared enough to act. Maria's story reminds us that the most profound spiritual acts often happen in the ordinary moments of daily life. They don't require wealth or fame, only the willingness to see a need and the courage to meet it. And while the impact of these actions might not always be visible, their effects are far-reaching, creating ripples of kindness that extend beyond what we can imagine. Incorporating spiritual giving into our lives starts with a mindset shift. Instead of asking, "What can I gain?" we begin to ask, "What can I give?" This simple question can transform the way we approach our relationships, our work, and our communities. It encourages us to see opportunities for kindness everywhere, to give not because we must, but because we can. As we practice this mindset, we also cultivate gratitude. Giving helps us recognize the abundance in our lives and deepens our appreciation for what we have. It shifts our focus from scarcity to sufficiency, from what we lack to what we can share. And in that shift, we find a sense of peace and contentment that material possessions alone can never provide. This year, let's commit to making spiritual giving a part of our daily lives. Let's look for ways to uplift those around us, not because it's expected or because it will be acknowledged, but because it's the right thing to do. Let's approach every interaction with the intention to leave it better than we found it, whether through a kind word, a helpful action, or simply a moment of genuine connection. And as we give, let's also take time to reflect on the joy and fulfillment that comes from these acts. Let's allow ourselves to feel the quiet satisfaction of knowing we've made a difference, however small. Let's celebrate the beauty of living in alignment with our values, and let that joy inspire us to continue giving. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, what we do now echoes in eternity. Our actions, no matter how small, leave an imprint on the world. Let's make that imprint one of kindness, compassion, and generosity. Let's use our time, our talents, and our resources to create ripples of positivity that extend far beyond ourselves. And as we step into this new year, let's remember that true spirituality is not just about finding inner peace. It's about sharing that peace with the world, one quiet act of giving at a time.